Hey, it's hour 2 of Tri-City Sports Now. I'm Marky Billson. I don't have a monologue today. This is going to be one of the rare shows I don't have something that's under my crotch, going, this should change immediately, and it's like yesterday when I did 2 hours of, let's go back to 1964 in baseball, which I know sounds a lot like, why doesn't the youth of today listen to Tin Pan Alley songs? But if you look at it, every gimmick that they've tried to put into baseball, from the DH to, doing away with sticking out the hand in the intentional walk, hasn't done anything to bring in youth to the game. In fact, it's taken it away from it. I get a guy here, Nick Mean, baseball is boring. You know what, Nick Mean? Baseball is boring to boring people. It's the most intellectual game out there. It's pause play sports. Same amount of action that you'll have in football. They've timed it. Okay, really, there is. Love the way you keep it. And you know what? I get lost. I got the World Cup going on here. I get lost sometimes. It's like, okay, they're kicking the ball back and forth. Admittedly, this is, and I played soccer in college and all that, but even then, I just, look back and forth and all this. I get this football is exciting. Well, it's a pause play sport. It's the same amount of action. It's the same. And they've done times. A 60-minute game, of 60-minute game time, you'll have less than 3 minutes of actual, action on the field. Believe it or not, same thing in baseball. Although, if we continue to make it, either home run or strikeout, we may actually have more action in baseball sooner than football. But it's a matter of seconds, really, in terms of time that the actual play is out there. There's a lot of drama, I have actually also said, I remember when it took 4 hours for Clemson to beat Alabama in the national championship. If you want to talk about games in baseball lasting too long, take a look at college football sometime. And I said, that's a lot of foreplay to get the national champion when you have Clemson defeating Alabama in 4 hours. Anyway, Tri-City Sports Now here. I would I want to go talk a little bit about some various things. Obviously, the Appalachian League is opening up today, and teams to look out for. By the way, I want to give kudos to the Bristol Herald-Courier, because their coverage of who to look for in the Appalachian League, these are the players to watch, was exceptional. Not only did they do, say, the Bristol Pirates, but they did every team in the Appalachian League. And I would recommend everyone, you can read it online if you're outside of the Bristol area. I think it's Tim Hayes did the story. Kudos to the Bristol Herald-Courier for really a nice Appalachian League preview. And, we get a lot of these times. Well, these are all the players that played in the Appalachian. Bobby Mercer played in the Appalachian League. This sort of. Terry Pendleton played in the. Thank you. Yadier Molina played in the Appalachian. Okay. I'm going to keep this to the local teams, though. And tonight, I guess the one news today, especially since Johnson City is on the road, knowing where the signal gets to, the overwhelming theme is going to be, is this the last year of the Elizabethan Twins? But the Greenville Reds are brand new. And I think that's really big. If you want to know what my wish is for, if you want to know what my wish is for, it's that the Greenville Reds, beyond Boyd Sports, do primo. That they get it done, baby. That is a huge success. Remember, the Greenville Astros used to lead the Appalachian League in attendance a lot. I'd like to see that happen again. And, of course, it's a lot of the quote-unquote Boyd sports influence, where you have professional sports organizations. They also run the Smokies and the Johnson City Cardinals, Tennessee Smokies. and they have professional organizations running a professional sports franchise, not some of this mom and pop where you call up the front office of one of these teams run by Parks and Recreation Department, and you get the Parks and Recreation Department answering machine, and it's never returned. The phone call is, that sort of thing. In fact, I'm looking at the Johnson City Press right now, and I am somewhat surprised. Ray Smith, longtime manager of the Appalachian League's Elizabethton Twins, athletic director of Milligan. Wow, they cornered him for an interview. Boy, I can remember asking him, can you come on the show? No, I'm going out of town tomorrow. And, I understand people, sometimes you can't do the interview. I understand that. Trust me, I do. It's just that when you ask 5 times and you ask ahead of time and it doesn't come through, or that's when you sort of say, you know what? Guy doesn't want to talk to the media. So, anyhow. Let's go look through this here. I want to discuss with the Appy League. These are some of the players to watch. With Greenville, tonight's pitching matchup, they're going to throw lefty Jacob Heatherly on the bump. Guy who had a 2.93 ERA in the Arizona League, that's one beneath the Appalachian League. They don't draw fans really. It's not designed to in the Arizona League. He was called up to Billings. And remember, Billings is just a little bit higher than the Appalachian League in terms of minor league baseball. Was not successful there, so doesn't really look all that good. But they send him back down to Greenville. I talked to him yesterday, and he said, you know what? I'm not that upset about that. I am from Alabama. I kind of like being able to pitch in Greenville and not in Billings, Montana. He's hoping that he'll get the call up to, A-ball straight out of Greenville. Could happen. It isn't a good look when you're being dropped down. But I will tell you that that's happening a lot with the Greenville Reds. There are quite a few ball players on that team this year that actually have been sent down to Greenville. In addition to Heatherly, you're going to have players from really all over the minor league system in Greenville this year. And if I can give you kind of an example here on who some of those players are, forgive me, I'm pulling up my computer. I know this is wonderful, just wonderful, radio to listen to as I wait and try to get to the rosters here. I will ask you, though, one of the questions I did have, I was talking to Gookie Williams, who's the new manager of the Greenville Reds. I was talking to some of the players. They knew they were coming to the Appalachian League, not Billings, not a complex league, not Arizona. They knew that, they said, several days ago, Thursday, Friday. Okay. Why wasn't it released then? Isn't this a failure to market? Don't you want as much time to discuss this will be a player who will be in the majors? Just like Nolan Gorman, first-round pick of the St. Louis Cardinals. It's reported pretty much early last week that he was going to be in Johnson City. And you've been hearing Matt Pauley give you on the sports updates. Yeah, Nolan Gorman, that's a potential future major leaguer. Power hitting third baseman for Johnson City. He'll make his pro debut up there with the sound bites in Princeton. I assume they still have sound bites after a repitch in Princeton. Then the other player to kind of watch for that you might have a rooting interest for, you also heard about this, Benito Santiago Jr. Yes, Benito Santiago's son. Played 4 years at Tennessee, late draft pick of the Cardinals. Kind of a runt, only 5'9", 170 pounds. 250-esque hitter in college. hit 7 home runs last year for the Vols. But that's a player also that you'll be able to recognize when you watch the games. Now, I was saying players that were sent down to the Greenville Reds, okay? And that's, not necessarily a good sign, but there are plenty of them this year. If I can change the subject, in addition to Jacob Heatherly, admittedly only played 3 games with Billings, but another player of great local note, 24-year-old Aaron Quillen, comes down from the Dayton Tortugas, from Dayton. He had pitched for them as well as Daytona. Daytona now in the Reds organization for years and years around the Cubs. But the Dobbins-Bennett product is going to be coming out of the bullpen for Greenville. He is the oldest player on the Greenville Reds roster at 24. But yeah, he actually pitched 7 games in A-ball last year, split between Daytona and Dayton. Stats weren't tremendously impressive, to be brutally honest with you. And now he tries his lot in Greenville. But a local product to watch for the Greenville Reds, something to consider. We also heard Justin Rock tell us all about Victor Ruiz from the Mexican League. Also played with the Arizona Reds last year, hitting .244, Arizona League Reds. But that's a player to kind of look for, possibly, to make a little bit of noise for the Greenville Reds. So, as I said, Jacob Heatherly, Aaron Quillen. By the way, and I know I'm bouncing all over the place, those 2 players, Quillen and Heatherly, are 2 of 5 players who are actually being sent down to Greenville. A lot of ways to look at that. Not a real good sign for the player, but at the same time, it says that there might be a little more talent than your typical Appalachian League team in Greenville. We'll have to go wait and see how this plays out. But that, when you're sending players down, you can say real easy, hey, they stink. But remember, Derek Rodriguez, now pitching for the San Francisco Giants, spent 3 years in Elizabeth then. Admittedly, 1 year as an outfielder, but nevertheless, 2 years as a pitcher. It doesn't look good. I'm the first guy to admit that when you're sent down. But it does mean that maybe that's a higher level of player. Let's say a New York Penn League type of player. I don't believe Cincinnati has a New York Penn League team. But that's sort of, let's say, low A-ball player, maybe playing in the rookie leagues. Anyway, that is something to look for with the Greenville Reds. Now, who will Heatherly be pitching against with the Bristol Pirates today? And this is kind of an interesting thing, I think, with the Bristol Pirates, because I think that they have a real interesting chance here. Usually the Pirates send really sort of playmates down to Bristol. It's just sort of it's not their primary location for developing talent. Let me just put it that way. But that might have changed here. Miguel Perez coming back for his second year as the manager of the Pirates, and he is a former Cincinnati Reds, just like Gookie Dawkins was a former Cincinnati Reds. Cup of coffee players. But nevertheless, the 2 players to watch on the Bristol Pirates, and I was really kind of intrigued by these 2 players. One is the pitcher who will be on the bump tonight, and that's Stephen Jennings. Now, the second player that I really thought was, okay, this guy, I'm liking the fact that he's on the Bristol Pirates. And that would be Shane Baz. Now, the thing about Shane Baz, and I really was kind of surprised that Baz didn't get the start for the Pirates today, but the thing that I was looking at with these two starting pitchers, they're the number 1 and number 2 picks in the Pirates draft last year. So that Shane Baz, now Baz pitched in the Gulf Coast League last year, 3.80 ERA in 10 games, so he wasn't outstanding. But still, the other thing that I like about the Bristol Pirates, and I think they have a chance to really be improved, is in addition to having that number 2 pick in the draft, Stephen Jennings. So Jennings and Baz pitching. Here are some of the players for the Bristol Pirates that I think, in addition to Jennings and Baz, that could be, sort of players to watch. One, of course, you've heard about him on the sports updates, Will Garner from Morristown. Carson Newman could be the ace out of the pen, or not, but he'll be a relief pitcher to watch. Jonah Davis. Remember that name for the Bristol Pirates? Jonah Davis, 15th round pick of the Pirates, but he comes from the University of California, where he just hit .321 with 14 home runs for the Golden Bears. All Pac-12. That's an outfielder to watch right there, Jonah Davis. The other player to look for, do you remember Gift Ngope? Remember him? He was the first South African baseball player. Well, his brother Victor is now Bristol's shortstop. Yeah. I mean, that's impressive. So Victor Ngope, younger brother, about 8 years younger, of Gift Ngope, who debuted with the Pirates last year and was the first South African player in the big leagues. Well, his brother is going to be Victor's shortstop, his brother is going to be Bristol's shortstop, Victor Ngope. So that's the guy, Ngope, Jonah Davis in a lineup, and a real nice, starting pitching 1-2, Baz and Jennings. Garner maybe out of the bullpen. Bristol might be a team to watch. Bristol, this might be not the same old Bristol Pirates. That's all I'm saying. Now, I mentioned the Johnson City Cardinals. I mean, I think it's going to be the Nolan Gorman show there. Reds with 5 players actually sent down to Greenville. Those might be a little bit higher caliber player than you normally get. Of course, Elizabeth, then, as I say, they slot a New York Penn League team to the Appalachian League. A couple of good catchers from the ACC, North Carolina State's Andrew Cosgrove, Clemson's Chris Williams. Remember that. Josh Widner for the Elizabethton Twins from VMI is going to be on a bump. Kingsport's got a player to look for. Mark Vientos, he's their shortstop, last year's second-round pick for the New York Mets, regarded as one of the Mets organization's 10 best prospects. Possibly a future shortstop for the for the New York Mets, playing for the Kingsport Mets this year. Mark Vientos, that's the player to look for. Also, Andrew Mitchell, pitched for Auburn. He'll be on the mound for Sean Ratliff's Kingsport Mets this year. So there you go. You've got the players, I think, to watch for the Mets. And this is coming out of the Bristol Herald Courier. I give Tim Hayes some credit there. Andrew Mitchell from Auburn on the bump. Mark Vientos, last year's second-round pick. At shortstop for the Twins, look for Josh Widner from VMI. And the battery, really, Widner, and then Cosgrove and Williams. I wonder if whoever isn't behind the plate on a given day, if that's who's going to be DHing. Anyway, from the write-ups that I see, I think that, yeah, the Twins, obviously, in terms of local Appalachian League teams. Then, you take last year's 2 top-round picks, you put them in Bristol. I know that starting pitchers in the Appy League, if they go 5 innings, it's amazing. But I got to think that looks good. Greenville, like I said, they've got some veteran talent on that team. Same with Bristol. Bristol has no player that wasn't born in the 20th century. Every birth year of a Bristol Pirate has a 19 in front of it. We're getting out of that era now, folks. That may be the last time you can ever say that about an Appalachian League team, that they were all born before 2000. So if I was looking at just power rankings of the local team, Elizabethton's always number one, right? They just slot their players higher. You'd be a fool not to take them sight unseen. But I think Bristol, say Greenville, Johnson City with Nolan Gorman, and for that matter, the Cardinals generally do. They've been slotting their players higher in Johnson City over the years. And then I think that probably the Kingsport Mets might be the team, the poor boys, if you will, this year in local Appalachian League baseball. Boy, I've gone way too long with that. When we come back, I am going to be talking to none other than the former president of Lincoln Memorial University, James Pawson. We're going to talk a little bit about the Rail Splitters' hopes to go Division I. Yeah, they've been a D2 powerhouse, especially in hoops. What do you think? Could they make it in D1? And it's not the conference that people have talked about for Lincoln Memorial before. So Tri-City Sports Now is coming back after this.